We're staying with a story on IPOB being called a terrorist organization. To take us further into the issue surrounding the clash between the group and the military, especially the latest decision declaring it a terrorist organization. I'm being joined on the news at 10 by security analyst Dr. Ona Ekomo. Doctor, thank you for making time to be with us on the news at 10. First of all, what is your reaction to this unfolding in the country?
Well, thank you, Amarachi, for having me. It is a bit of a troubling circumstance that we have in our hands in terms of the security conundrum in Nigeria. We really don't want to have too many flashpoints around the country. We don't want to have a conflict in the northeast, conflict in the Niger Delta, that's south-south, conflict now in the southeast and everywhere else for that matter. Conflict in southern Kaduna, that's northwest. I mean, there's just too much of that. So I think it is something that all well-meaning Nigerians really wish to go away, and the authorities must handle quite adeptly, because if you mishandle security situations like this, they tend to become something that you didn't bargain for. For example, I tell the story of the customs roundabout parable, where on June 11, 2009, a group of mourners were fired upon by Operation Flush in Maiduguri, and which gave rise to the Boko Haram problem that we are dealing with till today, and because it wasn't properly handled. So I worry about that kind of a customs roundabout parable. But having said that, I think in this particular instance, the government is kind of on top of his game, because the government is approaching the security situation from a risk-based paradigm rather than waiting for a threat before it responds.
And IPOB hoisting a flag in a sovereign country such as Nigeria, was that a tactical error on their part?
Yes, while nothing should derogate from the right of a people to aspire to self-determination or even ethnic identity. After all, in Nigeria here, the Hausas call themselves the Arewa people, the Yorubas call themselves the Omo Oduduwas. So if the Igbos want to call themselves Biafrans, that's their problem. It's just a name, just nothing in the nomenclature. However, when you start getting instruments of state, you have an NG, that's National Guard, you have a secret service, you have a police agency of your own. Now you begin to remind me about the Boko Haram play, because Boko Haram had all of these things in its early days. I had the military wing, it had the Hizbah, that's their police, they had everything in there. But our intelligence agencies missed all of these telltale signs of upcoming insurgency before it blew up in our faces on the 26th of July 2009. So I think we don't want to go that route, certainly. And I think hoisting that flag, for example, it's so reminiscent of jihadi flag being hoisted by Boko Haram. I mean, that's a very poor taste. And but having said that, I think nothing should derogate from the rights of the Igbo man for self-determination, because already entrenched in the UN Charter, and it's an inalienable right of any individual, any Nigerian for that matter.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ona for speaking with us on the News at 10.
Thank you.
I'm going to toss it over now to Ibrahim Adra, who's in Abuja, the nation's capital. Hi, Ibrahim.
Hello, Amarachi. Well, here in Abuja, the story is that President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to leave Nigeria for New York on Sunday to attend the 72nd session of the United Nations General Assembly. President Buhari will address the UN General Assembly and participate in a debate on a theme focusing on people striving for peace and a decent life for all on a sustainable planet. A statement from the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, says President Buhari would also be part of a bilateral meeting with the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and also have lunch meeting with President Donald Trump of the United States of America, along with other world leaders. The statement adds, and I quote, "Nigeria's commitment to global peace, security and development will be reaffirmed, and where necessary, the need for increased international cooperation in the fight against corruption." Other priorities for the Nigerian delegation at the Ugandan-Nigerian include strengthening human rights institutions, the rule of law, support for internally displaced persons (IDPs), recent flooding, and mitigating the effects of climate change. End of quote. After the Ugandan President, Buhari will travel through London on his way back. Meanwhile, the president today hosted his Ugandan counterpart, President Yoweri Museveni, at the presidential villa after he arrived in the country, accompanied by his wife Janet. President Museveni later briefed journalists after a closed-door meeting with President Buhari, with whom he discussed various bilateral issues.
What is easiest now is sharing institutions. What is easiest like this National Defense College, sharing institutions. Some Ugandans have already graduated from there, 6 of them. But we can send more. And we normally send officers to the Senior Command and Staff College in Kaduna, I think. There's one where we normally send them. And I was informed by the ministers in Nigeria here that many Nigerians come to Uganda to study in universities. So sharing institutions is easy, because that one involves just movement of human beings. But later on, we would like to revive our airline so that we establish an air link, because that one is also easier. But ultimately, we would have to have physical linkages through the railway. That will be done for the future.
It's been a rather busy day for the visiting Ugandan leader, who has been advocating regional and political integration to boost economic growth in Africa. President Yoweri Museveni, who spoke at the Course 26 of the Nigerian Defense College in Abuja, identifies the lack of economic and political integration amongst African countries as the reason for the continent's underdevelopment. He challenged African nations to invest in production instead of building their economy around importation of goods and services. President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda arrives the National Defense College in Abuja, accompanied by Nigeria's Minister of Defense and the commandant of the college as he inspects the guard of honor. He then proceeds to deliver his lecture to the 140 participants of the Course 26 of the National Defense College. Before his lecture, however, the commandant of the college explains the reason for choosing the guest lecturer.
He is a liberator who was critically instrumental in putting an end to the tyrannical regime prevalent in his country. A nationalist par excellence who revitalized Uganda politically, by providing stability, a growing economy, and improved infrastructure.
Next, the guest lecturer takes to the podium. He calls for urgent political and social integration to develop Africa.
We are aiming at both economic integration for prosperity, but we are also aiming at political federation to get strategic security. But how do you get prosperity? You can only get prosperity through getting big markets. Your internal market, the regional market and the international market.
Nigeria's Minister of Defense appeals to participants to draw from the training new strategies that will strengthen national security.
I urge you to tailor your research projects, timely papers, concluding seminars and other programs towards providing practical solutions and strategic challenges in areas of economy, protection of critical national infrastructures, and energy security, among others.
140 participants comprising the Army, Navy, the police and civilians, as well as international candidates from 19 countries, including India and Bangladesh, are attending the course 26 of the Nigerian Defense College in Abuja with the hope of strengthening the security architecture of their various countries.
Some governors have been reacting to the security developments in the southeast. They're insisting the country's unity should not in any way be jeopardized or threatened. They've also been holding talks with people of other ethnic groups in their states.
The echoes of crisis in Abia State have continued to reverberate in other parts of the country. Tension is said to have built up in Kaduna State as most traders closed their shops following rumors of a planned attack by hoodlums. But the police and the Kaduna State government have given the assurance that everything will be done to avert any breakdown of law and order. In Adamawa State, Governor Mohammed Jibrila is insisting that the state is safer for all Nigerians, irrespective of their ethnic group or religion.
We have been talking to our Igbo brothers for a long time. As far as Adamawa is concerned, the Igbos are happy and we are working together as brothers and sisters. We don't have any problem.
The Plateau State government is not leaving anything to chance after Thursday's violence in Jos following reactions to the clashes in Abia and Rivers State. Governor Long has met with the Hausa and Igbo communities where everyone agreed to avoid the situation in the southeast to affect the peace of the state.
As we are speaking, say the truth and tell us how to find a roadmap for peace. We know what is gone is already gone. We cannot bring them back. All those who are killed, we can't bring them back again. So, but we don't want. We will also not want to lose people again in crisis.
Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State, on his part, appealed to residents not to take the laws into their hands or join in violent acts capable of truncating the peace of the state. He also assured Igbo indigents of their safety.
Let us not listen or to encourage anybody or group that seeks to set one group against another. We must report all suspicious movements and activities to the numbers that our government has circulated. The police and other security agencies are working hard to safeguard every citizen in this state. Let there be no fear. Let us live in confidence and faith, upholding each other and trusting in the almighty protection of our almighty God.
For the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, the recent attacks on some residents of Oyibo by suspected members of IPOB is condemnable. The governor in a broadcast reaffirms the state's commitment to the corporate existence of Nigeria.
Rivers people fully subscribe to Nigeria's corporate existence and its indivisibility. As a people, we shall continue to support the unity and peaceful coexistence of all ethnic nationalities and work towards actualizing our collective aspirations for a just, inclusive, and progressive nation.
Even the U.S. government appears to be monitoring the unfolding situation in Nigeria and is appealing for calm. In a tweet, the U.S. diplomatic mission in Nigeria called on Nigerian leaders and all citizens to work towards resolving the current dispute. From all indications, it's apparent that there are issues to be resolved to ensure continued peace in Nigeria. But even the desired dialogue to address the disagreement must be done in a peaceful atmosphere.